Welcome to my channel Winning Vibes. What if I told you that happiness isn't something you chase for years? It's something you can activate in the next 24 hours? Stay with me until the end, because the final lessons will truly change how you see your life. Happiness begins the moment you stop resisting the present, and I want to sit with this truth for a while, because it sounds simple, but it carries the weight of a lifetime. Most of us wake up every morning already at war, not with the world, but with what is. We open our eyes and immediately think of what's missing, what's late, what didn't happen, what should have happened by now. We argue with reality before we've even brushed our teeth. We tell ourselves stories like, I should be further, I shouldn't feel this way, my life was supposed to look different. And slowly, quietly, without realizing it, we turn the present moment into an enemy. But here's the truth I learned through heartbreak, ambition, migration, reinvention, and deep self-reflection. The present moment doesn't need your permission to exist, and it doesn't need your resistance to shape you. It only needs your acceptance to set you free. Acceptance is not surrendering your dreams. Acceptance is not settling. Acceptance is the decision to stop bleeding energy into fighting what already is, and instead to reclaim that energy to build what comes next. I remember moments in my life when everything looked perfect from the outside, the applause, the recognition, the movement forward. Yet inside I was restless, impatient, unhappy. Not because something was wrong, but because I kept telling myself I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was living in the future while standing in the present, and that split creates suffering. Think about it. Your body can only live in now, but your mind keeps dragging you to imaginary timelines. And happiness cannot survive in a divided state. It needs wholeness. It needs presence. Imagine holding sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. That's what resisting the present does. The more you demand that life be different right now, the more peace escapes you. But when you loosen your grip, when you say, this is where I am, and I will meet myself here with honesty and compassion, something extraordinary happens. You breathe deeper. Your nervous system softens. Your heart stops racing toward an imaginary finish line. And in that space, clarity begins to speak. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you stop punishing yourself for being human along the way. For the next 24 hours, just 24, imagine what would change if you stopped mentally arguing with your life. What if you didn't label this chapter as wrong or behind or a mistake? What if you treated it as training, as preparation, as a sacred pause before the next expansion? Because every season has a purpose. Even the ones that feel uncomfortable. Especially those. The seed doesn't resist the darkness of the soil. It doesn't panic and say, why am I buried? It trusts the process of becoming. And yet we, grown, capable, resilient human beings, fight the very ground that's trying to grow us. I've learned that peace isn't found by fixing everything at once. It's found by making peace with now while still holding vision for next. Those two can coexist. You can be deeply ambitious and deeply accepting at the same time. You can want more without rejecting where you stand. When you stop resisting the present, you stop leaking power. You stop exhausting yourself emotionally. You stop replaying the past and rehearsing fear for the future. And suddenly happiness doesn't feel like a distant reward. It feels like a quiet companion. This is where awareness begins. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. You start noticing how often your mind says no to life. How often you tense up instead of soften. How often you rush through moments instead of inhabiting them. And awareness is powerful, because you cannot change what you refuse to see. In the next 24 hours, pay attention to your internal language. Notice how you speak to yourself when things don't go as planned. Notice how quickly frustration rises when reality doesn't match expectation. And instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this moment asking of me? That single shift changes everything, because resistance asks life to bend to your will, but acceptance asks you to rise to your wisdom. and wisdom always leads to peace. This is not about bypassing pain or pretending everything is fine. Pain demands acknowledgement. Emotions demand space. Acceptance says, I see you, I feel you, and I won't abandon myself in this moment. There is deep happiness in self-loyalty, in staying present with yourself even when things are uncertain. And here's something I wish someone had told me earlier, the PR. Present moment is not an obstacle to your future. It's the doorway to it. You cannot leap into tomorrow without standing firmly in today. When you reject now, you disconnect from the only place where action, healing, and transformation can happen. The present is where your breath lives, where your intuition whispers, where your strength gathers itself quietly. And when you finally stop fighting it, you realize how much energy you've been wasting. Energy that could have been used to create, to love, to rest, to believe again. This is why acceptance feels like relief, like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. And if this truth is stirring something inside you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead go even deeper, and you'll regret missing the next ones. Each step builds on this foundation. Without acceptance, discipline feels like punishment. Without acceptance, ambition feels like pressure. Without acceptance, even success feels empty. But when you accept where you are, you reclaim your power to choose how you move forward. Happiness then is no longer fragile. It's grounded. It's steady. It's resilient. In the next 24 hours, give yourself the radical gift of presence. Eat without distraction. Listen without rehearsing your response. Walk without rushing. Let moments be what they are instead of what you fear they're not. This is how happiness begins. Not with fireworks, but with honesty. Not with perfection, but with peace. And remember, this is only the first step. The lessons ahead are even more powerful, more transformative, more life-altering. So stay until the final points, because missing them would mean missing the real shift that changes everything. Your energy is sacred, and I want you to really feel that. Not as a concept, not as a pretty sentence, but as a lived truth. Because once you understand this at a soul level, happiness stops feeling fragile and starts feeling protected. Every single day, you wake up with a limited supply of emotional, mental and spiritual energy, yet most of us spend it unconsciously, like we're drawing from an endless well. We give it to conversations that leave us heavy. We give it to people who only meet us when they need something. We give it to comparison, scrolling through other lives and quietly measuring our worth against curated moments. We give it to worry, replaying situations that already happened or rehearsing fears that haven't even arrived. And then, at the end of the day, we wonder why joy feels distant, why we feel tired even after rest, why happiness won't stay. It's not because you're weak, it's because your energy has been leaking all day long. I learned this through experience, through moments when my life looked full on the outside, but I felt empty on the inside. I was doing everything right, showing up, saying yes, being available, being strong, and yet something in me felt constantly drained. That's when it became clear. Exhaustion isn't always about effort. Sometimes it is about exposure. You are exposed to too many opinions, too many expectations, too many emotional demands that were never meant to be yours. Think of your energy like a home with no doors. Everyone walks in, leaves a mess, takes what they need, and walks out. Eventually, you don't recognize the space anymore. Protecting your energy is learning how to build doors and choosing who gets a key. This isn't about shutting people out, it's about choosing yourself in a world that constantly pulls you outward. Your nervous system was not designed to carry everything. Your heart was not designed to absorb every emotion in the room. Yet so many of us walk through life like emotional sponges, absorbing tension, fixing moods, managing reactions, until we forget how it feels to be at peace. Peace doesn't disappear because life gets harder, it disappears because you stop honoring your limits. There was a moment in my life when I realized that I was constantly tired after certain interactions. Not physically tired, but spiritually drained. My smile felt heavy. My silence felt forced. And that was my signal. Your body always knows before your mind is ready to admit it. the tight chest, the shallow breath, the sudden irritation. These are not flaws, they are messages. They are your inner wisdom saying, something here is costing you too much. Happiness requires listening to those messages instead of overriding them in the name of politeness, obligation, or fear of disappointing others. You don't owe anyone your depletion. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. And here's the truth that changes everything. Not every situation deserves your reaction. Silence can be wisdom. Distance can be kindness. Restraint can be power. When you react to everything, you give your energy away to whatever is loudest. When you pause, you reclaim it. For the next 24 hours, notice how often you respond automatically, how quickly you explain yourself, justify yourself, defend yourself. Ask yourself, is this necessary or is this habitual? Because habits drain energy faster than challenges ever will. Challenges come and go, habits stay and quietly exhaust you. Guarding your energy means becoming intentional. It means choosing rest without guilt. It means saying no without a long apology. It means stepping back from conversations that pull you into negativity and choosing environments that nourish your spirit. This doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sustainable. And sustainability is the foundation of happiness. Imagine your energy as a flame. Every argument you don't need to have is wind. Every comparison is a slow leak of fuel. Every time you abandon your own needs to please someone else, the flame flickers. But when you protect it, when you choose presence over performance, alignment over approval, the flame steadies. A steady flame doesn't burn out, it warms. And that warmth is what people feel when they say someone has a calm presence, a grounded confidence, a quiet joy. The kind of happiness doesn't come from doing more, it comes from wasting less. In the next 24 hours, try living with this awareness. Before you give your energy, ask where it's going and why. Is this feeding your growth or feeding your fear? Is this expanding your peace or shrinking it? You'll begin to notice that happiness isn't something you need to chase. It's something that returns naturally when you stop bleeding energy into places that don't honor you. And if this insight feels powerful, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more transformative, and you'll regret missing the final ones. Each lesson builds on the last, like steps inward. Acceptance taught you to stop fighting reality. Protecting your energy teaches you to stop sacrificing yourself inside it. Together they create space. Space for clarity, for discipline, for gratitude, for faith. Happiness needs space to breathe. When your energy is guarded, your mind quiets. When your mind quiets, your heart speaks. And when your heart speaks, you remember who you are beneath the noise. For the next 24 hours, let your energy be intentional. Turn down what overwhelms you. Step away from what drains you. Lean into what restores you, even if it's simple, even if it's quiet. Because when you honor your energy, you honor your life. And happiness, once protected, doesn't have to be chased. It stays. Discipline is the highest form of self-love, and I want you to really sit with that idea. Because most people misunderstand it completely. We've been taught to associate discipline with punishment, rigidity, force, with waking up when you don't want to, pushing when you're tired, denying yourself comfort, and so we resist it. We say we'll be disciplined when we feel motivated, when life is calmer, when circumstances are kinder. But here's the truth I learned, not from theory, but from living, failing, starting again, and standing in rooms where doubt was louder than confidence. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself, it's about being devoted to yourself. It's the quiet decision to show up for your own life, even when your emotions fluctuate, even when no one is watching, even when the applause is far away. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls like waves. Discipline is spiritual. It's anchored. There were days in my life when I didn't feel brave, didn't feel talented, didn't feel ready, didn't feel enough. And if I had waited to feel ready, I would still be waiting. Discipline carried me on the days belief couldn't. It whispered, just take the next step. When my mind was screaming, what if you fail? Think about it. The life you admire in others is rarely built on inspiration alone. It's built on ordinary, repeated, often invisible acts of discipline. The choice to practice when no one is clapping. The choice to prepare when no one is demanding it. The choice to keep a promise to yourself even when breaking it would be easier. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, something profound happens inside you. Trust is built. And self-trust is the foundation of happiness. When you don't trust yourself, anxiety grows. You overthink, you doubt, you feel unsettled. But when you know deeply that you will do what you said you would do, your nervous system relaxes. You feel safe within yourself. Discipline creates that safety. It says, I have my own back. And that is love for the next 24 hours. I don't want you to think about discipline as doing everything perfectly. Think of it as alignment. Are your actions aligned with the life you say you want? Are your daily habits aligned with the peace you say you seek? Because happiness isn't built in grand moments, it's built in the quiet consistency of your choices. I remember times when my schedule was overwhelming, my energy was low, and my doubts were loud. But I showed up anyway, not heroically, not dramatically, just consistently. And consistency has a way of compounding. One disciplined action, biko, mes two. Two become a rhythm, and a rhythm becomes identity. You stop saying, I'm trying, and start saying, this is who I am. That shift changes everything. Discipline is not about controlling your life. It's about creating structure so your life doesn't control you. Without discipline, emotions run the show. You act when you feel good and disappear when you don't. With discipline, you honor your commitments regardless of mood. And that's where confidence is born. Confidence is not loud self-belief, it's quiet self-reliability. It's knowing that even on hard days, you won't abandon yourself. Imagine your life like a garden. Motivation is the weather. Unpredictable, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh. Discipline is the gardener who shows up every day, waters the soil, removes the weeds, trusts the seasons. The garden doesn't bloom because the gardener feels inspired. It blooms because the gardener is faithful. And faithfulness to your growth, to your healing, to your purpose is deeply fulfilling. In the next 24 hours, choose one small act of discipline that honors your future self. Just one. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, move your body for 5 minutes, speak kindly to yourself instead of critically. Finish what you start. It doesn't have to be impressive, it has to be intentional, because discipline is built in small moments, not grand declarations. And every small act sends a message to your subconscious, I matter, my life matters. Over time, that message rewires how you see yourself. You stop looking for validation outside because you're too busy building respect inside. And here's something important. Discipline doesn't drain happiness, it protects it. When your life has structure, your mind has peace. When your days have rhythm, your emotions stabilize. Chaos exhausts us, discipline grounds us, and grounding is what allows joy to stay instead of passing through. If this is resonating with you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And missing the final ones would mean missing the deeper shift that turns effort into ease. Discipline also teaches you patience. It teaches you to delay gratification, to trust the process, to keep going even when results are invisible. And patience is a spiritual muscle. It reminds you that growth is happening beneath the surface long before it shows itself. Most people quit not because they can't succeed, but because they can't tolerate the quiet phase where discipline is required without reward. But that phase is sacred. That's where character is formed. That's where resilience is built. That's where happiness becomes rooted instead of reactive. When you are disciplined, you are no longer at the mercy of your impulses. You don't overindulge to escape discomfort. You don't procrastinate to avoid fear. You don't sabotage progress for temporary relief. Discipline gives you dignity. It gives you agency. It gives you the power to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. And that choice, repeated daily, transforms how you feel about your life. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, carry yourself differently, Not because everything is perfect, but because you are aligned, and alignment feels like peace. So in the next 24 hours, don't wait to feel like it. Act because you decided to care about yourself. Let discipline be gentle but firm. Let it be an expression of love, not pressure. And remember, this is only one step in a much larger journey. The lessons ahead go deeper into gratitude, faith, and purpose, and you'll regret missing them if you stop here. Because discipline prepares you for everything that comes next. It strengthens the vessel so happiness has somewhere stable to live. Detachment from outcomes is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal growth, because people think it means you stop caring, when in truth it means you finally start living. We are taught from a young age to tie our worth to results, grades, or plow. Say, promotions, likes, timelines, milestones. And without realizing it, we hand over our peace to things we cannot fully control. We say, I'll be happy when this works out. I'll relax once I get there. I'll feel worthy when they approve. And slowly, quietly, we turn happiness into a hostage situation. I learned this lesson not through theory, but through moments of intense ambition. Moments when I wanted something so badly that my entire emotional state depended on the outcome. And what I discovered was humbling. The tighter I held on, the more anxious I became, the more I obsessed over the result, the less present I was for the journey that was actually shaping me. Detachment doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop bleeding while dreaming. It means you give your best effort with full heart and full integrity, and then you release the illusion that you can control how life responds. Think of it like planting a seed. You prepare the soil, you water it, you protect it from harm, but you don't dig it up every morning to check if it's growing. If you did, you'd destroy the very thing you're trying to nurture. That's what attachment does. It digs up your peace every day with questions like, is it happening yet? What if it fails? What if I'm wrong? And happiness cannot grow in soil constantly disturbed by fear. I've seen people achieve exactly what they wanted and still feel empty because their joy was never in the effort, it was trapped in expectation. And expectations are heavy. They turn every delay into a disappointment, every detour into a disaster. Detachment, on the other hand, turns effort into freedom. You show up fully, you give what you have, and you trust that life will meet you where you are meant to be met. This is not passivity, this is power. For the next 24 hours, imagine what would change if you stopped emotionally gripping the outcomes of everything you do. If you stopped needing every conversation to go a certain way, every plan to unfold perfectly, every person to respond exactly how you hoped. Imagine the relief, imagine the lightness. That lightness is happiness trying to return. Detachment allows you to stay rooted in the present instead of leaning anxiously into the future. It teaches you that your value is not created by success, but revealed by sincerity. Some of the most peaceful moments of my life came when I realized that I could walk away from an outcome and still walk forward with myself intact. That I could fail without being broken. That I could be misunderstood without being diminished. When you detach, you stop negotiating with your worth. You no longer say, I am enough if this works. You say, I am enough, so I will do the work. And that shift is everything. It's the difference between living from fear and living from faith. Faith that what is meant for you will not miss you. Faith that effort is never wasted, even when the results look different than expected. Faith that delays are not punishments, but recalibrations. In the next 24 hours, try this. Do one thing with complete presence and zero expectation. Send the message without rehearsing the response. Do the work without checking for validation. Show kindness without waiting. G for recognition. Feel how freeing that is. That freedom is the doorway to joy. Detachment also teaches resilience. When you're attached, setbacks feel personal. They feel like verdicts on your worth. When you're detached, setbacks become information. They guide you instead of crushing you. And happiness thrives where curiosity replaces fear. This doesn't mean you won't feel disappointment. You will. Detachment doesn't numb you, it steadies you. It allows emotions to move through you instead of defining you. Think of yourself as the sky, not the storm. Storms come and go, but the sky remains. When you attach to outcomes, you confuse the storm for the sky. When you detach, you remember who you are. And if this truth is resonating, stay with me. Because the lessons ahead are even more powerful, and stopping here would mean missing the deeper transformation that ties all of this together. Detachment creates space, and space is where clarity lives. When you're not obsessing over results, you hear your intuition more clearly. You make better decisions. You respond instead of react. You stop forcing doors and start recognizing openings. Life flows differently when you stop trying to control it and start cooperating with it. This is especially important in the next 24 hours because so much of our daily stress comes from emotional overinvestment in things that don't require it. Traffic, emails, opinions, other people.